When a decade of loyal work gets thrown away like garbage, some people cry while others get quiet and start counting receipts. I gave 10 long years of my life to a company that treated me like an invisible piece of office furniture. But when my boss decided to pull a greasy financial stunt to strip away my livelihood, he forgot one tiny detail. I was the person who knew where every single body was buried. My title changed every few months whenever executive leadership needed to avoid paying me a proper salary. Operations lead, strategy assistant, administrative manager, or whatever label sounded professional enough to delay my overdue raises. Despite the lack of bonuses or appreciation, I kept the entire operation running smoothly. I handled payroll disputes, corrected tax filing errors, and trained clueless supervisors on basic employment guidelines that kept the business legally safe. The turning point happened in the company break room on a cold Tuesday morning. Preston, our sunburnt chief executive officer who walked around like he personally invented modern capitalism, was bragging to his inner circle of yes men. He chuckled about cutting corporate fat while ignoring the fact that I was standing right beside the coffee maker. His cold eyes brushed right past me as if I was nothing more than a background shadow. 3 days after that breakroom interaction, a delivery worker dropped off a stack of plain white envelopes at the front desk. I noticed my name on one of them alongside an internal tax designation form. The chief executive called me into his standing desk office an hour later, grinning as he slid the document across the mahogany table. He proudly announced that I was officially being converted into an independent contractor starting immediately. He claimed this shift was a massive win because I would no longer have payroll tax deductions taken from my paychecks. In reality, it was a cheap illegal stunt to erase my health benefits, strip my retirement matching, and shift massive tax burdens onto my shoulders. When I quietly stated that I never agreed to such a change, Preston laughed it off. He casually mentioned that over 20 other employees were getting reclassified too. Preston assumed I would panic, accept the raw deal, or quit quietly like the rest. What he failed to realize was that I built the very compliance framework he was trying to manipulate. For 7 years, I had maintained a secure personal cloud folder filled with time-stamped emails, policy edits, and payroll logs. Every time upper management cut corners or attempted questionable accounting tricks, I kept a detailed digital copy for safekeeping. I walked back to my desk with absolute composure and opened my encrypted backup drive. I carefully cataloged internal messaging threads, job descriptions, and previous wage audits that proved my status as a full-time employee. The files showed clear evidence that Preston was knowingly misclassifying workers across 3 states just to shave 11% off total company expenses. His cheap shortcut was about to cost him everything he held dear. Instead of throwing a noisy tantrum or arguing with management, I took my comprehensive file home that evening. I opened a fresh browser window and composed a formal report to the Federal Labor Board and State Revenue Office. My message was short, professional, and attached 17 dense evidence files including direct quotes from Preston joking about tax dodges. I hit send and watched the confirmation page load with serene satisfaction. The following morning, I met with a trusted financial specialist named Joanne and a sharp employment attorney named legal specialist Evelyn. Evelyn reviewed the detailed paper trail and immediately filed for official whistleblower protection on my behalf. She explained that misclassifying decades of staff to evade payroll obligations carried massive civil and criminal penalties. We drew a line in the sand, ensuring my identity was clearly attached to the formal complaint. Within 2 weeks, the trap was officially sprung. Sitting in my car across from the office building, I watched the chief executive pull his expensive vehicle into his reserved space. Moments later, an insider texted me that a certified federal delivery envelope had arrived at reception. Preston opened it right in the lobby, his cocky posture vanishing instantly as he read the official notice of a comprehensive 5-year wage and classification audit. Chaos spread through the executive floor like wildfire over the following days. Management scrambled to locate archived payroll records, only to discover that Preston had previously cancelled off-site cloud backups to save a few dollars. Unqualified administrative assistants broke down in tears trying to recreate years of complex compliance logs from scratch. Former colleagues began calling me in anger, realizing their retirement accounts and tax filings had been quietly compromised. An emergency board meeting was summoned on a tense Friday afternoon to address the escalating investigation. Outside legal counsel walked into the boardroom carrying thick binders containing the findings collected by state investigators. Preston attempted to downplay the crisis as minor administrative noise caused by software transitions. However, the lead attorney cut him off, reading aloud damning excerpts from internal emails where Preston explicitly planned the illegal labor scheme. When a board member asked why the internal compliance supervisor had not stopped the transition, Preston lied on the spot. He claimed I was merely a temporary worker who lacked proper authority over company records. The attorney immediately corrected him, presenting my sworn whistleblower statement along with 10 years of official tax documents bearing my signature. The room went silent as leadership realized the full extent of this corporate deception. The final blow came when legal counsel announced the estimated financial liability facing the organization. Between back wages, unpaid employment taxes, mandatory interest, and severe fraud penalties, the total cost exceeded $7 million. To make matters worse, state statutes allowed officers who knowingly signed off on illegal schemes to be held personally liable. Preston turned pale as board members realized his greedy shortcuts had effectively bankrupted the enterprise. By the start of the following week, an internal memo was quietly circulated to all remaining staff. Preston had been stripped of his executive duties and permanently removed from daily operations. The board scrambled to offer me an expensive short-term consulting agreement to fix the compliance disaster, but I simply archived their desperate request without replying. They had spent years taking my expertise for granted, and now they were left to deal with the fallout alone. Shortly after the corporate downfall, I received an unexpected phone call from Director Lena at the State Revenue Enforcement Division. She commended the exceptional quality of my audit trail and invited me to join their specialized investigation unit. Accepting the position was the easiest decision of my life. I received a stable government salary, excellent health benefits, and an official badge that allowed me to protect honest workers from corporate exploitation. Walking into my new office on my first day, I noticed a whiteboard listing active enforcement cases. Highlighted right in the center was the official case file for my former employer. I took a sip of hot coffee and felt a profound sense of quiet accomplishment. I did not seek destructive revenge out of anger, but I ensured that arrogance and corporate greed met their rightful legal consequences. When quiet professionals spend years building systems behind the scenes, foolish leaders should never assume their silence means weakness. Reading the fine print and keeping thorough records will always triumph over arrogant corner-cutting. In the end, doing things the right way creates a foundation that no corporate bully can ever destroy.